Well, good afternoon and welcome to our first um, Student Directed Research virtual PLCs. We've got several of those now and I have to think about which one we're in. We're grateful for you guys joining us today. If you're not live with us, then we have recorded it and you're watching the recorded version, so we appreciate that as well. We're looking forward to getting this kicked off. We're going to have 4 of these this year. Dr. Alexander is with us, Dr. Daryl Dromgoole is with us, and Roxana Reyna is with us. And I guess we'll just introduce ourselves as we begin our portion of the virtual PLC today. Dr. Alexander is first up, and he's got an introduction for us. Our panelists cannot turn their cameras on for some reason today, so you'll have to just listen to him. But Dr. Alexander, it's yours.
Yeah, good afternoon, and appreciate you being here and appreciate the opportunity to visit with you about something that I feel like is extremely important for a lot of reasons. And I guess we'll be talking more about that during the course of today's session, but really appreciate you joining and appreciate you being part of Collegiate Edu-Nation. We've got a fairly simple goal, produce the highest student outcomes in the nation. It's not all that easy to do, but folks like you are what make it happen and what makes it worth doing. And we're just honored to be able to work with you and help you reach your goals for your students.
All right, Dr. Dromgoole.
Yeah, I'm Daryl Dromgoole. I'm the Chief Community Development Officer for Collegiate Edu-Nation. Spent about 40 years of my career life with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. Still live here in College Station, but I'm help out with this program. Been involved with it since 2011. And glad to have everybody on today.
And my name is Andy Wilson. I am the program director for Collegiate Edu-Nation and worked with Student Directed Research as a principal in Roscoe when we first started doing that, and then was support for that when I was assistant superintendent there as well. And just I can't say enough good about the growth that we see kids making and their learning through these projects. So I look forward to sharing with you a little bit more about instruction shortly. Roxana?
Yes, my name is Roxana Reyna, and I've been with AgriLife Extension for 10 years now, and I'm very happy to work with this partnership between AgriLife Extension and Collegiate Edu-Nation, supporting the schools.
All right, Dr. Dromgoole, I believe we're to you.
All right. Well, today we spent a lot. I want to share with this group today that we have spent a lot of time in the course of the last few months trying to develop a lot of resources for teachers to help enhance their community, their ability to manage a student-directed research program within their schools. A lot of those things are online. I mean, it will be online or be coming online. We're in the final stages of editing 2 different guides that will provide a reference frame of reference for student-directed research for teachers. That should be out within the next few weeks. But one of the things that we've worked on during the summer that I think has a lot of potential, and it has a lot of potential, I believe, for 2 reasons. One is it involves participatory education. In other words, it involves the teachers to get involved with other teachers and to learn from each other. And I think that as adults, that's a great way to learn. It's a great way to increase your knowledge in different things. The other reason is it kind of capitalizes on the way we communicate these days. I'm not a huge Facebook fan. I don't do a lot of that stuff, but in this setting, I think it's going to work very well to provide a framework and a platform that will enable you to interact with other teachers in other areas across the network, not just within your school, within schools other than the school that you may be teaching at currently at. So we created what's called a community of practice, and I'm not going to get into great detail about it. You'll be getting a newsletter within the next day or two regarding student directed research. That this will be actually the kind of the lead article in that particular piece. But you know, what we want to do today is talk about a few things. Is what is a community of practice? What makes it the Collegiate Edu-Nation community of practice unique, and then some key features of our platform, and then how to use it effectively in your everyday life. Can I advance this, or okay? Start out with a kind of a definition for community of practice. A community of practice is a group of individuals who share a common interest or field of study. In this case, it would actually be the common interest would be student-led research. Within that community, the members can collaborate, you can share knowledge, you can improve your skills, you can solve problems, you can do whatever the limitations are unending in terms of what we can get done. In educational context, the community of practice is a valuable resource for many reasons. One is for the peer learning, which I've already talked about. Other teachers can learn from each other. You can talk to teachers and chat with teachers that have been successful in other parts of the state to get ideas, to get opportunities. It can also serve as a platform for resource sharing. We'll be pushing some information out from time to time on the page, but you know, hopefully that will instigate more comments, more interaction, more discussion that will lead to true synergy that a community of practice can provide. Also, it can be served as a means for curriculum development. You know, as we think about moving forward throughout the year, as we try to improve on what we're doing year after year, it can serve as a mechanism to share resources, to develop curriculum and do those kind of things. Also, it just provides a networking opportunity. Chances are, if you have a question, or you've had an issue in your classroom, or a situation in your classroom that you may think is unique, I'll bet you it's not unique. I'll bet you somebody else in some other part of the state has already been there, has already done that, and they've probably already got the T-shirt. So they can probably talk to you more about it and share their experiences with you to help avoid continuing to have problems or having situations arise that are difficult to deal with. The community of practice for collegiate education is not just another online forum. I want to make that clear. It's a curated space that aims to bring the best educational minds together. We offer within this particular venue, we will offer subject-specific content related to student-directed research. It will be used to promote a platform promoting webinars and online courses, such as what we're doing today. It'll be a repository for educational resources. We'll, as I said, we'll be pushing some information out there for your use that you know, maybe you can't be on this on this particular webinar today, you can be on, but we can push some information out there that helps keep you abreast of what maybe is going on. Some key features of the platform: it offers a chat feature that facilitates discussion. It offers the opportunity to engage in topic-specific rooms where you can ask questions, share insights, collaborate on research, collaborate on teaching methods, whatever you may desire to do. It also can promote webinars and online courses that we'll be hosting on a regular basis, and possibly even offering some certified courses to deepen your understanding of various subjects. Another key features, again, going to serve as a resource library, rich repository of articles, research papers, and other educational materials will be available for download that you can access through this community of practice online site. And then collaboration features is going to be is the biggest tool. One of the best ways that we can share ideas is through built-in tools for collaboration on projects and research and anything that you may see that might help another individual. Also, in terms of how to make it the use of this community practice effective, how to use it effectively. Very first rule of it is it's not very effective if you don't share. If you don't work with, if you don't get on, you don't participate, you don't enter in discussions, you don't share ideas, it will not work. It will not, the discussion will go nowhere. So participation in discussions is key. Sharing your own resources. If you've been doing student directed research for a few years, like some of the schools have done, if you don't mind share what you've done in the past, share ideas of things that you would do differently, share ideas of what you might do to enhance the project, to enhance the learning experience. Anything of that nature is helpful to somebody, I promise you. So, if you have a question, post a question. We will try our best. If we can't answer it, we'll find the answer for you. Ask for help when you need it. If you need help, ask for it. That's what I'm here for. That's what Andy is here for. That's what Roxanne is here for. That's what Dr. Alexander. Everybody on the Collegiate Edu-Nation team has one goal and one goal only, and that's to have the best student outcomes in the nation. And this is one of the mechanisms we see that will help enhance that. Some other benefits: it provides continuous learning. I'll be 63 here in a few weeks, and I spent a lot of my life in a classroom, either as a student or as an instructor at A&M here, and in informal education as extension. And I tell you, I still learning. I learn every day something new, and I think that most individuals that are in the educational realm, they like to learn. They like to learn new things. They like to know new things. So this provides an opportunity for continuous learning. Keep an eye out for updates and new resources. When something's developed, we're going to push it out using this platform to where you will have access to it and have ability then to comment on it, to help us improve anything that we're doing. Also contribute to sharing what you've learned. That opportunity is great for many reasons, but I would, like I said before, I think that if you run into a situation in your classroom, while you may think it's unique, I'll bet it's not. So somebody has been down that road before and can probably provide some answers to help you move along. All right. how to get started. It's very easy. Sign up for an account. Here's the address to sign up for the account and start participating. Simple as that. So all we have to do is get people on there. We've got a fairly good group of people on there now. And I know teachers are busy. They got a lot of things going on, but it can be simple as a two sentence comment or a question. It can be asked. We can help find an answer for. There, you don't have to wait around for a phone call or a visit for somebody. It can happen almost immediately. As I said, I think this could be one of the best mechanisms that we've developed, and probably the easiest that thing we've pulled up to so far. But it can have a lot of potential. It has lots of potential, but it has zero potential if you don't participate. Participation is key. Participation by teachers, by research directors is very, very important, and is what will make this successful and make the network and your student-directed experience more meaningful, more robust, and more exciting for you as we begin a journey that I think is very important for our young people in the educational landscape today. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Andy for some bit about the next topic.
Thank you, Dr. Drumgoole. And I did take that link and put it in the chat. So if you're watching and would like that link, it should have showed up in the chat for you. I'm going to go through instruction and these research projects. There's a couple of ways you can attack this thing. One of them, and they're both appropriate and actually work well together. One of them is problem-based learning, project-based learning, and getting some professional development in that. That's very helpful. We turned to the Buck Institute when we were in Roscoe doing this when we first started, and that helped form a lot of what we did in the first early year or two, and then it grew out of that. But we also, when we became an early college high school, we adopted JFF's Common Instructional Framework, those 6 instructional practices that you see on the screen there. And those came from University Park School in Worcester, Massachusetts. That was one of the early college high schools. And so we use these in our classrooms, and we encourage, that's part of the P20 model for your schools also, is to be using these 6 common instructional strategies. And so, what I wanted to do is align those to doing a research project with your students, and just kind of show how that aligns, so that we always hear, well, it's just another thing. Well, it's all interrelated, and so when you go through this research cycle, then this is how you can pull these. This is how you really should pull these research strategies in. So the first one is scaffolding that I have. And scaffolding is a very basic instructional strategy. It's one of the first one we learn in college, but it's one we often forget as well. And so it's very, very important to help students draw on their prior knowledge. Don't assume that they know some things. I mean, of course they know some things, but don't assume that they know what they need to know to be starting a new research project on whatever topic you're starting. So one great way to figure that out is just flesh that out in a classroom conversation. And you can do that. You can start that in groups and move it from groups to whole class. I would encourage the teachers to take notes over that so that he or she knows, has a good feeling of what that baseline knowledge is, that prior knowledge is, and to be able to build on that. Connect the research to the prior knowledge as you go through. That little diagram there is probably not foreign to you guys. The zone of proximal development is that's where a lot of the learning takes place. And so you move from can't do to can do with assistance to can do independently, and you'll see that over the next 5-10 years as you whatever level you're at. You see kids grow through this research project starting at 3rd grade. Now all of a sudden they're in high school and they're doing this very like it's second nature, and so they move from dependence to independence. All right, and introducing new vocabulary is important, and that's for academic and procedural vocabulary. And so, if you're working with, let's say, sixth graders on wind energy, you want to talk about what a generator is. You want to use that vocabulary. What a blade. You want to talk about pitch, all the elements that go into that. And so there's some development that has to take place probably on the teacher's part as well. But then procedural, recording your data. Who's going to record that data, and then how are you going to record it? And so recording data is one example of procedural vocabulary. There's plenty to learn, but you need to introduce it, because especially at third grade, fourth grade, they may not have had this before, and I would recommend introducing it just quickly for every year moving up, and then use that vocabulary often. Make it a part of your vocabulary as the teacher's vocabulary in the classroom. And then, as you see on the screen and the prior screen as well, reduce support and allow students to take ownership as they develop the skills to do the research. Let's not forget about the scientific method. That's so important for students to learn, and it frames the research. So help the students learn that, introduce it to them, refer to it, and relate back to it as they begin to find evidence. There's a procedural term, find evidence, as they begin to find evidence, or as they need to formulate a hypothesis, as they need to test their hypothesis. Those kinds of things. When you're using that vocabulary, we can refer back to the scientific method and where they are in that process. And then help them visualize it. We had that chart on the previous screen. There's all kinds of charts about the scientific method out there, but also in the end product that's coming. You can use research posters that have been done before. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Roxana. You can use those kinds of research posters and talk to them about, okay, you're working on your hypothesis. Where is that in this end product that students before you have done? Or remind them, here's your poster from last year. Where are you in the process here in the scientific method? So you help them visualize it by using a research poster or whatever other tools you have. Moving from scaffolding to literacy groups. Literacy groups is a great way for students to dig into the literature about their research topic. They can explore the literature that way. Be sure and use age-appropriate sources. And all of these strategies. A slide that, I've got too many slides anyway, but one slide that I wanted to put on there was, don't forget to be developmentally appropriate. And we can have conversations. I'd love to have conversations with any of your teachers about what writing or what literacy groups, for example, looks like at third grade as opposed to seventh grade as opposed to 12th grade. So be age appropriate, use age appropriate sources, create roles as they go through the literature. Have somebody be a summarizer, have somebody be a word nerd. They're looking for the new vocabulary. Have somebody be an applier, apply what this article says to what we already know and to what our research is about. And that's if you have 3 folks. If you have 4 or 5, have other roles. There are other roles, and there's a lot of literature out there about literacy groups. So dig into that. Produce something. Have them produce something. So more than a conversation. Have them create a short summary or notes or diagrams, something so that after they've reviewed 3 or 4 pieces of literature, they have something to show for it and something to refer back to later as well. Allow for discussion to take place around the text. And we'll talk about classroom talk here in a little bit, but that would be classroom talk. Allow them to talk about it and guide. You can guide that conversation, and then don't forget to scaffold. Collaborative group work. These research projects, especially elementary and junior high and early high school grades, are intended to be collaborative on purpose. I would, because it fosters collaboration, all of us, we know we have to work with other people. We get to work with other people. Some days we have to work with other people. You learn that when you start doing collaborative projects. And so, groups of 3 or 4 are ideal. Keep the same groups throughout the research project that you're in. And so once you've started a research project, from start to end, keep the same groups. Even if there's problems, try to keep everybody together. I know there are times when it's just too much and you have to move somebody from one group to another. But if you can avoid that, and we'll talk about letting them work out their issues here in a second, but if you can avoid moving them, it would be great. Have them share responsibilities. So the investigation actions, for example, who's going to go out, and in this case, everybody's going to go out and pick cotton. But maybe they're pouring water over soil to see, to determine erosion of soil. Who's going to do that? Or who's going to do that today? Who's going to collect the data from that? Who's going to record the data? Who's going to write it down and put it in whatever chart? Who's going to summarize what we did that day? And then have them rotate those groups as well, so that they all get an opportunity to do the different parts. Foster the collegiality is what I was talking about a while ago. Try to let them work through their own issues on their own as much as possible. I know it's hard to do that and not always possible, but do that. I've sat in so many of these judging events where students were asked by judges, tell me about what happened, they use the word, I was with elementary, so they didn't use interpersonal, but, tell me about your communication in the group, or tell me about, did you guys all get along? And it's wonderful to hear them talk about it, because they usually don't all get along. There's usually some issues along the way. And of course, they're all laughing about it at this point. It's all over and they're presenting. They probably weren't laughing during it, but it's an opportunity to grow. And so, as hard as that can be for the teacher, it's important to let that take place. And then lead students in holding each other accountable in positive ways. Well, that's hard. That's hard for us as adults. But when a member of the group isn't pulling their own weight, or 3 members of the group aren't pulling their own weight, that's when a teacher can be a guide and lead them in learning how to be positive in holding their group mates accountable. So it's a great way to learn how to get along with others. And then foster a sense of collective achievement and ownership. So, it's not, it's hard sometimes to work with other people. It might have been easier just to get out of my way and let me do this myself. But at the end of the day, when you've all done it together, you all own it, you've all achieved it together, and you all have great success to celebrate. And celebrating is a whole lot more fun with other people than it is just by yourself. So, so foster that sense of collective achievement and ownership, and then keep it fun. Even when it gets hard, bring some levity as much as possible. This is a point where the teacher sets the tone. The teacher always sets the tone. The administrator sets the tone for the teachers and for the students as well. But if a teacher is saying, oh, man, they're making us do this thing and we'll just get through it, well, then that's what the students are, that sets the tone. They're just going to get through it. But when it gets hard and things don't work right, there's a lot of failure in research. Things go wrong. Things break, they never go completely as planned. And so there's some failure, and we learn and grow from that failure, and the teacher sets the tone for that. Classroom talk. I only have one slide for classroom talk because it really permeates through all of these strategies, as you've seen. I encourage classroom talk when scaffolding. I encourage it during collaborative group work and literacy groups. Facilitate those conversations and have those classroom conversations. And what classroom talk is not, is a teacher, not necessarily, is a teacher standing at the front of the room lecturing, or a teacher standing at the front of the room and asking knowledge level questions to check for understanding. That's not really a classroom talk as much as synthesizing, comparing, the higher level, higher order thinking skills. When that starts taking place and you let go and let kids do that kind of thing, that's when you get into the classroom talk. And so that's why I have there, don't be afraid of noise. And your teachers, if your administrators on here, and noise is okay. As an administrator, be okay with noise in the classroom. That's what you want happening. I was always more pleased when I walked through a classroom of students talking and working and teacher facilitating than if I was walking in a classroom where all the kids were quiet and the only person I heard was the teacher. Now, there are times for that, and I understand that. And as a principal, you know what's going on. But kids need to be able to talk and converse, and there needs to be some noise in the classroom. So embrace that and don't be afraid of it. Help them engage in, go ahead and go back to that slide. Help them engage in meaningful discussions and debates, collaborative problem solving, all of that. There can be, noise is not a bad thing, but not all noise is good. So in order to know that, a teacher needs to be moving around and hearing what kind of noise that is and what kind of conversations those are. So facilitation is an important word there. Teacher may have to model this type of classroom talk in the beginning for those 3rd and 4th graders, teaching them how to have a meaningful discussion, teaching them how to have a debate and so forth. All right, let's move to questioning. Questioning is more than what I mentioned a while ago, a teacher, checking for knowledge level understanding. There's a difference in knowing what 2 + 2 equals and then how to use that. And so, a different way of thinking about questioning. Questioning should be fun and not threatening. And that's for everybody, the teacher, the students, and everyone. And it fosters curiosity, right? And so I encourage the teachers to use their own natural curiosity. If you wonder it, ask it. If you're walking around and facilitating and you see something you find interesting about a research project and you wonder about it, then ask about it. If you wonder, I wonder why the heck they're doing that, you might not ask it that way, but ask it. Ask why did you choose to do it that way? So it's, just foster your own curiosity as a teacher and have those questions. Four-way questioning is what we used to look for. Three-way questioning: teacher to teacher, student to teacher. I'm sorry, teacher to student, student to teacher, and then student to student. And I encourage you in these research projects to think about group to group as well. Let the groups question each other about what they're finding. Let them question each other about their procedures, what they're doing different. Have them question each other about their conclusions and justify them. If they're doing all that in a natural way, it's a whole lot more natural when they're with the judges as well, when they're presenting. And then I put on there a fourth one, teacher to teacher questioning. It's okay. It's okay for the teachers to ask each other questions. How are things going in your classroom with this research? What are the students, my students are doing this, it's kind of weird. Are yours doing that? What are yours doing? So it's okay to get outside the classroom to the next classroom over and talk to the teachers and ask them questions as well. Your students should generate their own research questions. This takes some practice. It takes some guidance, especially in the beginning, but have them work together on that. What are you looking for? What's the problem to be solved here or the thing to be investigated here? And then have them form their own questions. They need to learn how to ask simple and complex questions about their data. And they need to question each other about their conclusions. Questioning is a natural part of research, so lean into that. And then use good resources and practice asking good questions. I recommend using question STEM, something that you have close by, maybe the teacher has close by to refer to. I've got on there Costa's levels of questioning. We used to have Costa's House of Questions in all of our classrooms, and just as a quick reference, and not just for the teacher, but students can refer to those as well. And then there's Bloom's taxonomy to refer to. So use good sources. So the next strategy is writing to learn. Writing is so important, and even also in the research, student-directed research. Writing enables students to synthesize their information, and that's high order. They get to articulate their understanding, and so yeah, they understand it, but now they have to think about their understanding of that and explain their understanding to somebody else and reflect on their findings. All that happens in the writing process. Writing to learn happens formally and informally. So as they take notes daily, as they collect their data, that's a writing to learn. As they create summaries, and they'll learn. Their summaries from 3rd grade to 6th grade to 9th grade will probably improve because they'll learn the better summaries I make every day, the better notes I take every day, the better I can write my final product. Drafts are important, and then the final product. As student projects progress, introduce the scientific writing principles as well. And so clear organization, evidence-based claims. So, it's easy to say, well, this is what we, or this is what happened. But what you really need to say is, this is what happened, this is what we're basing it on. And so helping students to think that way and write that way, and then creating a coherent argumentation. So a coherent argument that here's what the literature says, here's what here's what our hypothesis was, here's what happened, here's why we think that is. And so that all that conclusion, all of that conversation needs to be a coherent argument. And so in products, written presentation of the research, it may be a poster, it may be a paper, it may be something else. But when it comes to writing, an end product that's written, it's probably going to be a poster or paper. And so it's a written presentation of the research and the knowledge that was acquired by conducting the research. And so it's an important part to have that end product and for them to be thinking forward towards that. Another end product is the oral presentation of the research and the defense of the knowledge that was acquired by conducting the research. And this is it's a beautiful thing. The research poster, you saw that poster a while ago. It's a beautiful poster. This is also a beautiful thing to see these kids stand in front of judges, make a presentation about what they know now that they didn't know 3 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago or however long the research cycle is, and then be able to defend their work. It's a really wonderful thing to watch and to see. And then ultimately, the most beautiful end product is you end up with young adults who are not afraid of research in college. I've had half a dozen or more students come back and say, Mr. Wilson, my peers ask me, first of all, how do you do this? And second, why do you know how to do this? How do you know how to do this? Does this just come natural to you or what? And they recognize that they're skills that they learned when at school in Roscoe. And then you end up with lifelong learners who know how to solve problems creatively. And so that's just a real quick look at using the Common Instructional Framework or aligning that to the research. There's a lot of different ways we can go and a lot of professional development that we can give your teachers. Sherry Wittenberg is wonderful on problem-based and project-based learning as well. And so we've got things to offer. We just need you to call on us and we'll get it set up and ready to go. Before we get off, let me see, move this out of the way and see if anybody has any questions or any comments. You'll have to put them in the Q&A. We do appreciate you guys and your time, whether you're live with us or watching it recorded. We appreciate the time you spent on this today. All right, if there's nothing else good for the calls, we'll wish you a good evening and good rest of the week. Y'all take care.